let me repeat myself. Mr. Devins has to make an informed decision about who he wants as lawyers. He's now been sitting in our jail for 2,000.
Did you know that YNW Melly's next hearing date has just been set? A second bond hearing for Melly will happen on Tuesday, May 6, 2025. His lawyer, Raven Liberty, will present arguments for his bond in front of Judge Martin Fein. However, a lawyer who was in court today mentioned that Judge Fein seems very upset. The judge appears to be seriously thinking about dismissing the case. He is frustrated with the way the state has been handling the case, acting like it is an inconvenience. The state has not followed court orders and has not prepared properly for the hearings. Because of this, Melly's lawyer has given strong reasons for why Melly should be released from jail. Melly's lawyers kept their argument very simple. They pointed out that no firearm has ever been found. This is important because there is no proof showing Melly's direct involvement. They also showed GPS and text message evidence from the time of the crime. The evidence shows that Melly was running away down the street when the crime happened. This suggests that Melly was not part of what took place. This new information could have a big impact on Melly's bond hearing because it raises questions about the prosecution's case. This hearing is very important for Melly's future, and with the judge's frustration, it seems like the case could take some unexpected turns. During a tense moment in the courtroom, there were statements made about what happened on the night of the crime. Someone was asked if they were okay, and they mentioned that a car was coming up behind them. They seemed worried but assured everyone they were fine. When asked about two other people, Zach and Juvie, the person was unsure about their whereabouts. This raised more questions about the situation. Then, Judge Fein confirmed that YNW Melly should be given a chance to be released on bond until his trial begins. The judge stated that it was unfair for Melly to remain in jail for so many years without a conviction. It was a significant moment, as it showed the judge's frustration with the long wait for a trial. Alongside this, it was announced that Melly's ex-girlfriend, Mariah, was allowed to go home after posting a statement. She thanked her supporters and expressed how much she loved them, mentioning that it was God's plan, not hers. Mariah had been caught in a difficult situation and did not appreciate being broadcasted on the news. She had no criminal record until her recent arrest. U.S. Border Patrol agents arrested her at Miami International Airport after she arrived on an international flight. Court records show that Mariah had been ordered to testify in Melly's first trial in 2023, but her involvement has taken an unexpected turn. In a surprising move, Judge Fein stated that Melly must make a decision about who he wants to represent him as his lawyers. It's been a long and challenging process, as Melly has now spent 2,159 days in jail. The judge is determined that this case should not be delayed any longer. He couldn't believe how much time had passed without a verdict and urged the prosecutors to explain why Melly should remain locked up. If they could not present convincing reasons, Melly would be released on bond. When the prosecution spoke, they brought up new evidence, accusing Melly of having a motive for the crime. According to someone from the O Block, Melly allegedly wanted to make more money from the YNW business, which added a new layer to the case. This new motive could potentially change the direction of the trial, but it remains to be seen how it will all play out.
Vaughn really tell you that Melly told him that he was two friends?
He ain't come out and say, like, we got into a...
Melly told King Von something that was meant to stay a secret, but Vaughn ended up sharing it before he passed away. This secret seems to explain why Melly might have been motivated to commit the crime. Melly and Borland were out there doing concerts, selling merch, and making money with brand deals, while Sack Chaser and Juvie were not working as hard. This frustration may have led Melly to take drastic actions. King Von, who knew about street situations, could have given Melly advice on how to handle his feelings. When this is combined with Melly admitting to the crime just hours after it happened, it makes things even worse for him. There is some very strong evidence that points towards Melly's involvement in the crime. One key piece of evidence was found on his phone. A message on Melly's phone shows a conversation where someone asked if he was okay. His response was chilling. He simply replied, "I did that," followed by a smiley face emoji. This message was a shocking admission. Later, another message from Melly's account appeared. It said, "What?" followed by SHHH. This was a disturbing sign that Melly appeared to be calm and unaffected by what had just happened. It was as if he had no remorse for what he had done. The messages showed that he was not emotionally shaken by the events. There was also a video on Melly's phone that added to the disturbing evidence. The video showed Melly and Borland smiling and laughing, seemingly happy, just hours after Sack Chaser and Juvie were shot. In the video, Melly said, "Still turn regardless of what happened." This was another sign of his lack of remorse. It was as though Melly and Borland were not bothered by the loss of their friends and were still going about their lives, carefree and unconcerned. This was a huge red flag that raised questions about their feelings toward the deaths of Sack Chaser and Juvie. As the investigation continued, more physical evidence came to light. One of the most important pieces of evidence came from Sergeant Williams, who was involved in the investigation. Sergeant Williams explained that the crime could not have been a drive-by shooting, as some people had initially thought. The rounds that were fired came from inside the vehicle, not from someone outside shooting at the car. This was a significant clue that suggested the suspects had to have been inside the vehicle when the shots were fired. Williams concluded that the suspects had to have been sitting in the back left seat of the car at the time of the shooting. This discovery helped investigators narrow down the suspects and added more weight to the case against Melly and anyone else who may have been involved. The evidence continued to build against Melly, and it painted a clear picture of his involvement in the crime. His calm responses in the messages, his detached attitude in the video, and the physical evidence all pointed to him being a key player in what happened. As the investigation moved forward, it became more difficult for Melly to deny his involvement in the tragic deaths of Sack Chaser and Juvie. The evidence was stacking up, and it was clear that investigators were determined to find the truth. Despite all the evidence against him, Melly's supporters continue to claim his innocence. They argue that he has been wrongly accused and that the case against him is flawed. However, the evidence stacking up against him makes it increasingly difficult for his defense team to maintain that he is not involved in the crime. From messages on his phone to a disturbing video, the investigation has provided strong evidence that links Melly to the crime. Every day, this evidence seems to grow stronger, adding weight to the case that Melly may be guilty. The ongoing investigation into the crime highlights how crucial it is to examine every detail, even the ones that may seem small or insignificant at first. In cases like this, even the smallest piece of evidence can help uncover the truth. When put together, all the pieces of the puzzle create a clearer picture of what happened that night, leading up to and after the deaths of Sack Chaser and Juvie. Each piece, no matter how small, adds to the understanding of the events and brings the investigation closer to uncovering the full truth. For example, the messages found on Melly's phone have been some of the most revealing pieces of evidence. In one message, Melly chillingly admits to the crime with the words, "I did that," followed by a smiley face emoji. This not only suggests that Melly was aware of what had happened, but also that he felt no remorse for it. His message, followed by a strange SHHH, further shows that he may have been trying to keep his actions secret, which only deepens the mystery surrounding the crime. These messages have played a crucial role in the investigation, as they clearly show that Melly was not distressed or shocked by the events. Instead, he appeared calm and almost indifferent, which has raised serious concerns about his involvement. Another disturbing piece of evidence came from a video found on Melly's phone. The video showed him and Borland smiling and laughing, acting as if nothing had happened just hours after the shooting. In the video, Melly even says, "Still turn regardless of what happened." This statement, along with their carefree attitude in the video, suggested that they were not mourning the loss of their friends. Instead, they seemed to be going on with their lives, as if nothing had changed. This behavior has raised further questions about their true feelings toward the deaths of Sack Chaser and Juvie. The physical evidence from the crime scene has also played an important role in the investigation. Sergeant Williams, who was involved in the investigation, explained that the crime could not have been a drive-by shooting. The bullets came from inside the vehicle, meaning the shooter or shooters were in the car at the time of the incident. Sergeant Williams concluded that the suspects must have been sitting in the back left seat of the car. This was an important clue, as it narrowed down the suspects and suggested that the people in the car were directly involved in the shooting. As the case against Melly continues to unfold, the growing evidence has made it increasingly difficult for his defense team to argue that he is innocent. His calm demeanor in the messages and the video, combined with the physical evidence from the crime scene, all point to his involvement in the crime. With each new piece of evidence, the case against him seems to grow stronger, making it harder to deny that he played a significant role in the deaths of Sack Chaser and Juvie. Despite his supporters' efforts to defend him, the investigation is clearly showing that the evidence against Melly is substantial. The investigators have worked tirelessly to piece together the information and build a case that points directly to Melly's involvement. As more details emerge, it is becoming clear that the truth is coming to light, and it is unlikely that Melly will be able to escape the weight of the evidence. The case also serves as a reminder of how important it is to thoroughly examine all evidence, no matter how small or insignificant it may appear. Every piece of evidence can add to the understanding of what happened, and when combined, they can help investigators form a clearer picture of the truth. In this case, the messages on Melly's phone, the video, and the physical evidence all work together to point to his guilt. As the legal process moves forward, it will be interesting to see how Melly's defense team handles the mounting evidence against him. However, with so much evidence pointing in one direction, it is clear that the case against him is becoming more difficult to defend. It seems that the truth will soon be revealed, and Melly may have to face the consequences of his actions. As the legal process continues, the question remains whether Melly will be held accountable for his actions. The evidence against him is undeniable, and it will be interesting to see how his defense team handles it. However, with such strong evidence stacking up, it seems more likely that Melly will face serious consequences for his role in the crime. The case serves as a reminder that in the end, the truth often comes to light, no matter how much someone tries to hide it. Juvie's mother helped further the investigation when she testified in court. She confirmed that her son sat in the back right seat of the car. She also identified the person sitting in the back left seat, where the shots came from. This person was identified as Jay, which helped to tie Melly to the crime. In a surprising move, the prosecutors have decided to try Melly and Borland together. The idea behind this is to make the trial faster and more efficient. They hope that by trying both of them at the same time, they may end up turning on each other and giving the prosecutors more evidence. However, this is not good for the defense. They believe that if the trials were separated, each defendant could blame the other and avoid taking the full responsibility. Melly's situation is serious. The state is seeking the death penalty if he is found guilty. The trial is not just about whether he is guilty or not. There will also be a penalty phase where the jury will decide what punishment he should receive if he is convicted. This part of the trial will be different from the part where they determine guilt. The death penalty is a very serious matter, and this makes the case even more important. The outcome of this trial will change Melly's life forever. It is clear that he has a lot at stake, and the trial is about to get very intense. Melly's situation keeps getting worse, especially with Borland potentially involved. If Borland knows he had nothing to do with the deaths of Sack Chaser and Juvie, he is likely not going to accept a life sentence behind bars. This means that if it comes down to it, Borland could point the finger at Melly. It is important to remember that Melly's lawyer already tried to place the blame on Borland during the first trial. Juvie's father has conducted his own investigation into how Melly tried to stop Mariah from testifying. Reports say that Melly used strange methods to communicate with people, even though he was not allowed to use a phone. Notes were passed between people, who then called others to get in touch with Mariah. They used code words like Rihanna and Rock, which made it clear that Melly was going to extreme measures to keep her from testifying. If Melly is found guilty of witness tampering, he could face life in prison. His mother, Jamie King, has spoken out, saying it is not fair that Melly has been in jail for so long without being convicted of anything. She argues that he should not be treated this way before a verdict has been reached, but the new charges only make his legal situation worse. In prison, Most inmates who have been convicted or are still waiting for trial have the right to use the telephone. They can send and receive letters to stay in touch with their loved ones. However, Melly's situation is different. He has been denied these basic rights, and his mail is even being kept from him. This means that he cannot communicate with his family the way other inmates can. On top of this, it seems that authorities have gathered evidence of him being involved in witness tampering, and they plan to show this evidence in court. Melly's mother, Jamie King, has shared how heartbroken she feels about her son's treatment. She talked about how painful it is to see Melly's struggles. He has said that he is hurting and scared for his life. When Jamie heard these words from her son, she said it made her feel incredibly sad. As a mother, she feels helpless in this situation. She also criticized the Broward Sheriff's Office, saying they are making up their own rules. Even though they have tried to raise these concerns in court, the judge has no power over the jail. The jail continues to act in its own way, and Jamie believes they should be held accountable for how they are treating her son. But this is just the start of Melly's ongoing problems. Recently, it was revealed that Jamie started a fan account while Melly is going through his trial. She explained why she decided to do it in an interview. She said that she turned 40 this year and thought it would be fun and bold to try something new. When she was asked how much money she made on the first day, she said it was pretty epic, estimating that she earned around $40,000 to $50,000. This surprised a lot of people, including DJ academics, who questioned why Jamie would do this while her son is facing such serious charges. He pointed out that Melly is fighting for his life in court, and it seems strange for his mother to be making such a move during this time. DJ academics also mentioned that some mothers of famous people want to be in the spotlight themselves. He brought up Blueface's mom as an example of someone who has attracted attention for similar actions. But he never expected Melly's mom to do something like this, especially since her son is dealing with such a serious situation. Some people wondered if Jamie was doing it for the money. However, she defended herself, saying it was not about the money. Still, social media had a different opinion, and many people were surprised by her actions. In another interview, Melly's brother shared his thoughts on how his brother had spent his money. He said that Melly had bought a lot of cars and jewelry, which he thought was wasteful, especially because Melly was not able to enjoy these things. He said Melly should have spent more of his money on important things, like legal fees. Despite this, he acknowledged that Melly's lawyers were good and money was not a problem for them. It seems like Jamie may have started the fan account as a way to cope with the stress of her son's trial. Melly has checked on her many times to make sure she is okay. It is clear that she is trying to stay strong during this incredibly tough time.